legends talk about a time of great peace and unity. A time when there was no more war and no more hate. A time when goodness, love, and justice will rule the world.
Our religions talk about this time, but somehow nobody ever really thinks it's going to happen.
But in the early 1800s, something called millennial fever started to spread.
People all over the world checked their holy books and decided the time was coming soon.
And so they began to watch and wait for a new divine teacher who would bring the long-awaited time of peace.
While this was happening, a young boy in Persia was having a lot of trouble with his own teacher.
It's not that he was a bad student, he was actually too good of a student.
He could solve really hard problems really easy. The boy knew things more than the children, more than the grown-ups, more than the teacher.
He would often get lost in prayers for hours and hours.
At first, the boy's teacher thought he was just very unusual.
But over time, he was amazed by the great boy's knowledge.
Eventually, the boy's teacher took him back to his uncle and said, "He is not to be treated like a mere child. He has no need for teachers like me."
The boy's uncle did not understand. He sent the boy back to school and scolded him on how he should be like his fellow students.
But no matter how hard the boy tried, his wisdom and knowledge could not be contained, and soon he left school altogether.
As this young boy grew, millennial fever also grew.
In the spring of 1844, the boy, now a 24-year-old youth, announced that he had been the one everyone was waiting for.
He called himself the Bab, which means the gate. He said that he was the gate between the old way of life, full of war and conflict, and the new, more mature way of life, structured on unity, love, and peace. After that, everything started to change. The Bab's influence spread really, really fast. His followers were very brave and devoted.
They became great heroes.
In just a few short years, tens of thousands of them were killed for their beliefs.
Many, many more followers lost their jobs. They lost their homes. They lost their families.
The Bab's writings flow from his pen like a great ocean,
Disclosing profound spiritual truths, dismissing superstitions, and summoning the world to an exalted standard of conduct.
But most of all, the Bab told people to prepare their hearts for Baha'u'llah, another divine teacher that would soon come to establish a new stage in the social evolution of humanity, the unification of the entire human family.
When Baha'u'llah appeared a few years later, he set out principles to make it a reality.
Among his teachings are that humanity is one family,
That women and men are all equal.
That education must be universal.
That everyone has a responsibility to independently investigate reality.
That science and religion must be in harmony,
And that work done in the spirit of service is worship.
From that first day back in the spring of 1844 until now, those teachings have spread throughout the world and become widely accepted.
Today, there are millions of Baha'is across the entire planet, working hard to establish communities using these principles.
We try to focus the light of Baha'u'llah's teachings on the many, 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 many problems of society,
and bring about spiritual, social, and material progress for everyone.
We value the great diversity of all the peoples of the world.
We see everyone as our spiritual brothers and sisters.
Those fearless souls who recognized the Bab in the early days were called the unbelievable heroism. That often meant giving their lives for what they believed.
but today heroism is something different.
It's not giving up our lives, but instead it's giving up our time and energy for selfless service.
It's making the welfare of humanity our dominating concern.
And not stopping until the well-being of mankind, its peace and security are firmly established.
Somehow, no one ever thinks that war will stop, and that nobility and love and justice will ever really rule the world. But the coming of the Bab and Baha'u'llah created a change in the world that finally make this possible.
And now, all is left is for us to just do our part.
And work as hard as we can to make it happen. Together!